Hello there. Today I'm presenting my second design team project for Ephemera's Vintage Garden and using the Ephemera's Heartsong digital kit, which I just love. It's bright and colourful and it's giving me great pleasure to work with it. This is a bit different to last month. I did a faux dory and used the faux dory pages and had fun making that. This month I'm recycling this cover, which was an Avery label packaging, and this was, can't think of the brand name, but blue tack, you know, the positionable tacky stuff that we all use for posters and adhering things, and I use it for removing dies from intricate dies, that sort of thing. Use it a lot in the craft room. So tacky removable adhesive, and this was a package that was in. I show these packages in the second part of this. I've broken it up into 2 videos this month because it simply became too enormously long. So I'm going to do just a show off of my project in this video, and the second video will have all of the components that I used, the packaging, how I made the tapes, blah blah blah. All of that will be in the second video. I didn't want to put this for people that just want to have a look and see what I've done. It's a quick video, and there are those who perhaps might like to look to see how I did it, and that's in the second video. So that just explains it. So this is just a quick rundown on how it actually ended up. I did the voiceover for the process video as I was making it, and so there's a bit of repetition. Some things didn't end up quite as I imagined they would when I started out, as was always the case. I did think I was going to put 2 signatures in this, but it ended up with 1. And this little thing, it's a little notebook I made to actually go in the pocket, but I've even changed my mind on that, and I've put other things in the pocket in here, and this will just go in my handbag. It's a little notebook, and I'll show you that first because it's very simple and very quick. I covered the covers of both with painted tape and collaged the inside of both with text. So that's there. There's a little pocket in this one with just an envelope and some cards in that. A good spot, if it's in my handbag, be a good spot to put a couple of business cards. And this little insert has got pockets front and back for putting receipts and bits and pieces in, and is purely the remains of last month's faux dory, where I trimmed the inserts to make them the right size for the faux dory. This is just the leftover, it's about a 3x3 I suppose, from the bottom of that. There's a couple of little charms in the middle just because I could. I've closed that with the tiny Velcro dots. They're almost invisible that side, and these ones look a bit white. Closes up nicely, and this little dangly doodle is just to tie it together with that and to give it a little bit of something extra. I shall probably take that off. That's simply attached on a rubber hairband for a ponytail, so that just pulls off if I get sick of it, which I probably will, because I know the seam binding it's starting to lose its appeal as we speak, but it looks nice and it's a bit of colour. There we go. So that's the little one. I was pleased with how the painted tape turned out and enjoyed doing that for the cover. There is nothing in either of these that was new. All of this, everything was from my stash. This is a hairband which I bought a couple of, and they were in my stash. It's got an anti-slip line on the back, so it holds on nicely, pulls off easily, goes back on. And this little doodad is simply on a pink shiny safety pin, and I can take that off and have it perfectly plain, which is the way I usually like things. And I just used this seam binding because it was there, it was made, and it was in a little plastic bag. I always save any scraps, and all of this, as you can see, they're just little short pieces, was from the scraps. On the safety pin, I've added one of my little flat, I'll just go in a little bit maybe, a little flat paper bead that I made some time back, and I've added a couple of the little tiny cutouts from the Ephemera's Heartsong kit. That one's my favourite of the doodle fairies with the green wings, and on the back there's a little toadstool. And I've just added a little bit of nonsense to the bottom of that with an acorn at the bottom, just to put a little bit of colour and interest on the front. Now for the folio itself, in height it's about nearly 24 centimetres or 9.5 inches. Width-wise it's about 7 inches or round about 17.5, 18 centimetres wide. You can see the collage book pages there, and this is a piece of the Ephemera's Heartsong paper. I love this green. The greens and the yellows are beautiful, that I've used to line the pocket and this flap. The inside of this front cover is one of the giant tags. All of the tags and journaling cards are backed onto file cards because I like the weight, and I like the fact that there's lines. It just is a good weight to put on them. And that slides into a little craft envelope that I've added a little bit of the painted tape to, just to bring the outside in, if you like. And I've put punched out a little flower punch and put a bit of acetate behind that, just so that it's a window. You can see the tag behind it. I've also added a strip of painted tape to this edge, not because it needed it particularly, although I did have this partial envelope that's been stitched to form a pocket. It just strengthened that edge a little. It's the only reason I put it there. This has just got a tag in it at the moment, and I normally put an envelope in the front of my journals to write the details of the journal itself, what it's for, when it was written, who completed it, all of that information that I like to put in my journals. So this time I've just got a plain straight tag cut from a scrap of a nice heavyweight cardstock. And in behind that window there's one of the doodle fairies, just on a piece of pink cardstock, just to back that and to give it some visual interest. The paper that's not printed from the kit is all coffee stained, and that's got, you can see the texture. Let's try that. I get this through spraying. I lay the paper on my large table and spray it, and spray it 2 or 3 times, let it air dry, that sort of thing, and end up getting lovely textures. And it feels quite different to the baked. I love the crinkliness and the smoother texture of the baked paper too, but I also like this more textured, layered look from spraying. I've used quite a few side pockets in the journal and cut from what I thought of as coordinating cardstock. So where it tied into the colours, I've used just cardstock strips and pieces to make these side pockets, because I really like those. You can tuck things away and photos and all sorts of things. This, and there's a glassine bag in the back there, and a couple of other things I put through my printer and printed onto using the one of the pages from the kit, and the tutorial for that is one of Debbie Ann's, where you simply spray some non-permanent adhesive onto a piece of cardstock, lay your component pieces, and if you're doing small envelopes or little craft packets, glassine bags, those sorts of things, you can often get several onto the one piece. Lay it all on nice and smoothly, put it through the laser printer, and you get beautifully printed components to add to your journals. So that's ever since I saw that video quite a while ago now, particularly for printing on envelopes. I didn't on that one, but it works brilliantly for envelopes too. Ever since I saw Debbie Ann's tutorial, that's the way I've done it, and it always works. It's lovely. I've used washi tape throughout where I thought, you know, the music notes and the colours, particularly the colours, but also the motifs on the tape, if it tied in, I've tried to use that because it helped get rid of my rather bulging box of washi tape. There's some more there with the pink. Lovely pages, really like the way they print out. And on the back of, I think, almost all of these, that one has the grid that comes with the Ephemera's Heartsong, which I really like, and I use that in the Folio. But when I'm just printing pages for journals, I also like to use, this was one of her freebies, and it comes, just prints deliciously stained and foxed lined paper onto the back of the pages, and it just takes off the whiteness. When you're using coffee dyed, you don't want stark white pages. Another lovely page, I've just put one of the gorgeous green butterflies onto that. This little papillon tag or label is part of the kit. I've added that to a piece of that cardstock that I used for the pocket. Just a scrap I cut off, and that's a tuck spot for another journaling card from the kit. This is this page printed onto adhesive back paper. I've used that quite a lot for making strips of adhesive and stickers. It's particularly handy in these kits because you can print off whichever page you want, and you can add to reinforce the edge or simply to tie the pages together. And you just use it like you would washi tape, except it's a better adhesive and you don't need to use adhesive to wet adhesive to glue it down. I've used a sticker on the back of that, and I'll show you some other things I've done with that. It's great for adding photos and bits of memorabilia into your journal. This little one is, there are two of these. There's this one and this one, and they're simply music pages that I had printed out in my stash ages ago. I got them out and stenciled and coloured the page, and then folded it in thirds, adhered it in the middle as one would an envelope, and folded the ends in and adhered them down to make a little tuck spot for in the journal. And these little inserts are great just for adding tickets or receipts or anything like that. You can pop them in there. You can use it for notes or photos, whatever. Just sort of extends that usefulness of the page. There's one of another of the large jumbo tags. I made lots of tags in different sizes because they just are lovely. Lovely green moth there. It's one of my favourite pages. One of the little flowers cut out to brighten that corner. This is just a strip of cardstock that was jumping out of the box at me when I was searching through, so I thought I might as well give in to it and include it. It's got that lovely bright yellow. Here's the second of those music pages that have been stenciled and coloured, and this time there's a green insert. One of the little craft envelopes with a acetate window, but it's also a tuck spot in behind it. This is another of the glassine bags. This is put through at the same time as I printed off these. Holds the tag nicely, and I've adhered it in using a strip of that printed adhesive backed paper. Another more washi, one of the doodle fairies, another giant tag in the side pocket, one of the toadstools, more toadstools. Love this page. I don't normally like yellow, but I really like this page. Love it. In the centre I've got one. I made two of these envelopes thinking I was having two signatures. There's one in the pocket here, I'll show you in a minute. I simply sprayed them with a few of my homemade sprays, did some stenciling, some text stamping, some butterfly stamping, and used this one as the centre to hide the stitching, and it's just got a journaling card in there at the moment, but will eventually hold all sorts of memorabilia and bits and pieces as I fill the journal. We're just on the backward half, so it's repetition from what you've already seen, but just different fairies added. Two more journaling cards in that little long pocket. Washi, another strip of that tape, the other side of the green insert, one of the large moths or butterflies. This little one is just another one of those, but used as a tuck spot on its own without being applied to a piece of cardstock. And that's the little envelope from the kit. Other half of that. Toadie's there to bring that greenie across. My favourite of the flower fairies. I gave her the white wings. She didn't have any wings, so I gave her that cabbage moth, which doesn't really show up that brilliantly, but it's subtle and pretty. She is again. I've just got some edge punching, a couple more journaling cards. That is not a tuck spot, it's just adhered down with that sort of a mid-sized tag. And that's the back. Now in the pocket I've got this little glassine bag with a sticker out, and inside there is just strips of that adhesive back tape. You can pull those off and adhere them down with photos or notes or tickets, and I've also cut out a few of the flowers and other bits and pieces from that page, just using it up so it wasn't wasted. I've put the second of those envelopes in there. It's empty. It will get filled with bits and bobs as time passes. And this pocket it goes right through to here, so it's a nice size. And this little notebook, and I just used my collage tape because it had rather than use the same collaging with book pages, I just used the collage tape that I've made from Tim Holtz tissue paper and that sort of thing to finish off the inside of that, and a little strip of the painted tape down to reinforce the spine. There's a reinforcement with the collage tape on the inside, and that's just a little notebook that can tuck in there as well. There we go. So that's the journal, all done. I'm quite pleased with it. It was time consuming and in parts quite tricky. It's not polished and finished as I sometimes like. It's a little rustic and clunky, but it is recycled bits and pieces and just lovely. It feels nice. I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of fun using it. It was fun to make, and one of the pleasures I find in making these sorts of projects is the problem solving that goes into it. Adapting what you have and what you've got and the ways you do things to accommodate the challenges of the project you're making at the moment. So that's all a lot of fun for me. Apologise for the background noise. We've had a bit of rain today, which is lovely for the garden. But it makes it quite loud when cars go past, and of course they keep going past while I'm trying to talk. But I apologise for the background noise. So that's it for February from Ephemera's Vintage Garden design team and the gorgeous Ephemera's Heartsong digital kit with all its lovely goodies that are part of it. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.